On this episode of ResiWeek, we wrap up 2019 and look forward to 2020 with the family. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek episode 204. Everything is awesome.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Peerless AV, driving technology through innovation.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week we are pleased to be joined by really my true podcasting residential family of
your
friends.
Your tribe, Matt.
My tribe. Yeah, but I don't want to say it's my tribe. It's our tribe.
The tribe.
It's the tribe.
Can you be a millennial and just say we're your squad?
No,
we're too old for that.
No, I'm way too old for that crap.
That
Shut up, Richie. All right, let's kick this off. We have Heather Sidorowicz. She is the president of Southtown AV. How you doing, sis?
I am doing awesome. We're almost at the finish line of the year. So, every moment counts.
It does. And at the time that this posts, it'll be the start of the new year. Then we have Joe Whitaker. He is the CEO of Thoughtful Integrations. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. Since it's a year in memory show, I'm sporting the old logo. You know what I mean?
I saw that.
I'm feeling nostalgic about 2019.
Don't worry. I was going to tell Sarah that you were wearing the wrong shirt. Then we have Stephen Bronner, one of my longtime friends. He is the owner of Pro Audio Georgia. How you doing, bud?
Man, I'm outstanding. I got 2 more work days left this year, and it's rolling right on by. We've already booked January and February. Life is golden, my friend.
It's the way to be. And last, but most definitely not least, the elder statesman of the group, the godfather of the industry. It's Richard, Uncle Richie Fregosa. He is the principal of Fregosa Design. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Mellow West Coast greetings. I just made it back on one of our other shows. I was incapacitated with the flu, so glad to be upright,
Monday.
Glad to be healthy, and I guess
through podcasting, right?
No.
Okay.
They tell me I'm no longer contagious, so everybody should be good.
Yeah, with 2020 coming, I will be easing into year 50 for myself when this posts. So this will be the mad rush to 50 for me.
He started when he was 8.
You're going to be 50? You're almost dead.
Feeling it. Not only that, but I'll be sweating in the Philippines at this point this summer too if I keep it up.
Beautiful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick this off. Heather, I want to start with you. We're going to kind of do a round table. I've got 3 different questions. We'll go around each time and get some feedback from all of our friends here. Heather, starting with you, what was your biggest story that you saw this year in 2019 for the residential space?
Well, Matt, I think hands down, it's that you and I will no longer be on the board in 2020 of CEDIA.
That is.
I kid before the lawyers circle. I think that there's the obvious one that I'll let you guys all take because I know what you're all going to say. I'm going to say Julie Jacobson's sabbatical is my number 1 story.
Wow.
Come on, a woman that works 27 years, probably the most well-known female, sabbatical, taking some time off, stepping away, not necessarily down. I think that's a huge thing for the media side.
I agree. It's big.
It's going to change the landscape.
Yeah, it will. And she is the one I think that's not afraid to rock the waters a little bit. Like she's not afraid to say what she thinks, which I think is awesome, and that can be very scary. So I think that's a pretty big story.
Very good. Joey, what was your biggest story of the year?
I have a big one, but I will say Heather's was pretty good because I think each of us, we can almost earmark portions or high points or milestones in our career, with a Julie Jacobson. You know what I mean? She's been involved in so many people's just stuff. She was at when Control4 went IPO. She helped ring the bell at NASDAQ. I mean, I'm still floored by that. But I would think for me, our company and the industry, kind of a peak of a trend that we've been seeing was the Snap AV Control 4 merger. That was huge and could have went, 10 different ways. And it's still, we're in that first year and it's still unknown where it's actually going at this point. And that's what makes it one of the biggest stories, especially for, a privately owned company to be involved in turning a company that went IPO out of being publicly traded and being brought into privately owned. That was a huge story.
Yeah, that was gigantic. Stephen, what was your biggest story of 2019?
I think it's not just that particular purchase, but I think it is the consistent devouring of companies being eaten up, combined, bought. It has become almost a full-time read for me just to keep up with who owns who. Honestly, the last time I saw something like this was in 12 volt when I was in car audio. You never really knew who owned who. I mean, you've got major brands that everybody thought, oh, that'll always be Polk or that'll always be this. And next thing you know, it's owned by a different company than a different company. And I think that the trend of the year has been who's buying who's having dinner with who's going to join forces next. And I think that is, yep. I think that is definitely the trend in our industry this year. We really didn't have a huge, and I know people will disagree. I don't think we had a huge technology jump this year. I think we had some cool changes, but no jumps. But goodness gracious, at all the companies buying each other. And like Joe said, who would have everyone expected Control 4 to buy Snap AV. But no one that I know of saw it coming, that a private company took Control 4 back private. That was just crazy.
Yeah, it was a
It's
massive
one of those
deal.
where you remember where you read it and you had that the verbal.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I can think of that happening twice in the last 2 years. And one time was when Samsung bought Harman, and the other time was when Control 4 was bought by Snap AV.
And that's kind of that news of all of those stories is over the last 2 years, that's been a trend, but this last year was huge. And then you got to roll the dice. Is it going to be like Samsung Harman, or is it going to be like Sound United and just be a hot mess? It's one of those you don't know, but this last year saw so much of that, and they were all kind of big. And then all the way down to integration companies merging together to form a new, I call it VIA 2.0. It's like it's just so much. It's the Walmartization of our industry.
Yeah, very, very true. Uncle Richie, drop some knowledge on us. What was your biggest story of 2019? We've had Julie's sabbatical, and we've had the kind of the merger acquisition, if you want to use the official marketing pitch of Snap AV and Control 4.
Well, I think they're all indicative of a bigger trend in the industry. And I was joking a couple of minutes ago that, by the time this airs, I'm going to be moving into my 50th year. Of that, I'll have spent 29 of them in this industry. And I guess I'm feeling a little nostalgic about it, just like literally just thinking about it right now. And what made me sad more about anything is that it's basically the industry. It's kind of leaving the nest at this point. It's changing in ways that I don't know if I never expected it to when I was 21, 22 entering the industry. There's a different face and aspect of the industry than when we started. Literally when we started, we all got into this because we weren't making money in bands, or performing. It's like we needed a day job. And that's what everybody got into this. And the one that hit me the hardest actually was a recent story. And it's not a huge story, by industry standards, but for me personally, it's the news that ADA may be going under. Peter McKean, the founder of ADA, was my first industry contact. CES in 1990, 91. I wasn't even able to, you know what? I wasn't even able to drink yet. I remember that. It was my first CES. I was 20. I still couldn't drink. And Peter McKean.
I had a time machine. That is where I would go.
Yeah.
I go see
Peter
Uncle
McKean.
Ricky at 20 years old.
Yeah, he took me, and at the time when I was an integrator, Adam Stone, took us to dinner. And that was the first time that somebody kind of put their arm around me and went, this is how this industry works. This is what you do. And then Richard and Al, carried the torch from that. And so from that, you've got this juxtaposition. You have the company. They were gold-plated faceplates on ADA equipment. I mean, it was, this was when you dealt with ADA, you were dealing with the Loren, you were dealing with the Gavinci, you were dealing with the absolute top of what the industry could provide at that time. And now you have it paradoxically with Snap AV, which was basically a large distributor of products for the longest time. You just kind of, and Heather off camera, made a little Pac-Man sign. But all of a sudden this Pac-Man just starts chewing up these companies. And we've transitioned from where we started, which I'm grateful for, with the Peter McKeans, with the Sam Runcos, with the Chris Stevens from Phoenix Systems, with, like Julie Jacobson. Again, she's one of the few people in my career I've ever called boss. She brought me into the media. There is I'm seeing it more and more as I'm starting to look at where I'm phasing out of the industry as opposed to staying in, as seeing that there's a pass of a torch. And the companies that are going to hopefully succeed in this industry are transitioning themselves. We're seeing ResiMercial come up a lot more. I've seen more ResiMercial in the past 2 years than I've seen in probably the 5 years prior. If you look at the people that are assembled in here, if I had told them 5 years ago, hey, you're going to be doing restaurants, you're going to be doing bars, and that's going to be one of your profit centers, people are like, oh, no, I love home theater. I love this. I love distributed audio. And there is a shrinking of what we do being assimilated in a greater generalized technology sector. And so for me, I'm not saying that our industry is necessarily dead, but it is evolving in a way that if you asked me 25 years ago, I probably wouldn't have necessarily believed it, or at least I would have actively campaigned against it a lot more. What I think this Snap AV acquisition or merger, whatever you want to call it. There was a much bigger company with a lot more money that bought the other company. And so, the company that was backing the Snap AV acquisition was it's got some deep pockets. And I think what's going to happen is there may be some instances where equally deep pockets are going to find their way into the industry. And we're going to see some rapid changes in the next few years that I don't think any of us expected. It's going to be interesting.
Even Sonos, right? So Sonos didn't grow up from inside the industry. Sonos was outside the industry, and the first few years didn't even want to play with us. And now we're sewn in together. They've taken over so much. I'd be interested in the percentage rate of whole house audio. We're not getting into. So you're right. It really has changed.
I like what Richie said because I'm gonna use this today. It's gonna be #SaveADA. That's going to be my daily hashtag. Because right over there, there's one of those big ADAs right there. And it's funny because ADA, one of the last two great American amplifier brands. You got them and SAE. The ones that are still manufactured here, still built here, pride in every single one of those boxes. And it's good. It's good stuff. So I hope somebody can filter in there. Because it'd be sad to see them go. We have to keep one of them. There has to be one that stays.
See, and I think if I can kind of wrap up this section, I would say that has been my biggest story of the year, is not so much the specific story of ADA potentially shutting down, the specific story of Control4 being purchased by Snap, or Snap buying everybody else, or any other merger that you want to talk about. It's the continuing simplification of our industry and of our channel. And you're losing a lot of that history, and a lot of that high-end, medium, upper class projects are disappearing. They're going away, and we're not maintaining that in the middle market space. That's not growing necessarily either. You're seeing this divide that, we've talked about this from the commercial side for, many more years than we have on the residential side, that middle market gap is continuing to widen. And I think if you look at every big story this year, that's kind of the underlying trend, is that you're seeing that market shift and that market change. And the creative dealers and the creative integrators are the ones that are taking advantage of that. And the ones that are complaining a lot about that are the ones that have not figured out how to shift. Speaking of shifting, let's shift on to our next topic. Sorry, did I cut you off, Richie?
Oh, I was just about to say that it's, you guys are spot on, and there's an aging out of there's a generational shift in our industry that's happening right now. And the pioneers who started it are retired, have moved on. That second wave, who we, Joe and myself, we were kids that these guys took us under their wing and said, "Hey kid, this is how it works." And, it was still, we were, it's as Gen Xers, I feel more and more we're like that. We're that last vestige of the rock and roll in our industry,
yes.
Which was, we were punk, we were like, if it ain't made, we're going to make it. It is like client comes with an idea. I'm like, I've never done it before, but we're going to make it happen. And literally sitting there with, soldering irons and spit and baling wire and figuring out how to float 350-pound televisions, just nutty stuff that went on.
That is how much a 55-inch Fujitsu just about weighed. I'm just saying.
Or a 35-inch Mitsubishi professional monitor. It was, they were 350 pounds. But, the bigger point is, I'll bring an example. We were all here. Everybody that was on this panel was at CEDIA. There was no high-end rooms.
No.
None. The only high-end hallway, technically, for the first year that I've ever experienced it, there was TiVo was there. They were in one of the high-end audio areas just because that's where they got shoved. And I went in and asked. I went, "Oh wow, TiVo's got a high-end something or other." I walked in. I'm like, "No, that's just the TiVo." And the generational aspect of our industry is matching the generational aspect of our clients are moving towards the mobile environment. And again, 5-6 years, I've just been running up and down as, what's going to eat it is mobile. We're at that point now, you now have
we're
two
old,
generations.
Richie. We're old, Richie.
Yeah.
Well, speak for yourself.
We can't, there wasn't even HDMI when we started, dude. Like we were still running S-video to projectors. That's a shift that's happening. It's like you youngsters, y'all need to get this ship right.
Well, I can tell you that in my opinion, the reason why ADA and other companies like that are not quite making it is because they don't make headphones. If you look at our industry, a lot of people have shifted the client base has shifted away from high quality. Everything's becoming a commodity. And I'm not trying to bash on Snap AV. It is what it is. But that company, in my opinion, started the commoditization of our industry, or as Joe would put it, the Walmartization of our industry, where everything was a race to the bottom. So your high-end companies, and I'll give you another example, Key Digital used to make really phenomenal products, and they're picking it back up now. But the thing is they got eat up by companies like Snap AV and Vanco and companies like that because it was cheap. And so this generation that's coming up, we've got to find a way to communicate that you want quality, you need quality. You don't just need something that'll make it a year. How about something you can enjoy in 15 years? Think about the original JBLs that they just released. Again, if you guys haven't seen that, they're freaking amazing. Yeah, so things like that, that is cross-generational technology or cross-generational enjoyment. That's something that I think is huge. And that's one reason why I love talking to people like Richie and Joe. I've enjoyed almost every conversation I've ever had with Jeff Boccaccio, the old guy, HDMI godfather, and many, many other people. We all know everybody in the industry. So I really enjoy these conversations, and a lot of people think, that's a little strange, but it's not, because not only do I love what I do, but I love the history of what I do. I love talking to people that know what's going on. Pretty much anybody. Yeah, occasionally Joe will slip up. He's got two brain cells. They'll run into each other and he has an idea. So yeah, you can find wisdom. You can find wisdom anywhere south of the Canadian border, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. And on that lovely, lovely note, let's change directions for a second. This is going to post essentially Jan 1. What trend are you looking for? What is this, whether it be a market insight, a news item, an industry trend, whatever. Heather, what are you looking for, or what are you expecting to see? What trend is going to dominate 2019?
Geez, I don't know. I went first last time. I'll go last time.
All right. Let's reverse it then. Richie, what trend is going to dominate this year?
Consolidation. It's at this point to think that it's not going to continue, and that'd be silly. I think that what may occur, and maybe not this year, but looking a little bit forward over the next 24 to 48 months, let's say within the next 2 to 4 years, I think and again, not saying this, saying this with all love of the industry, is that I think that with things like the Emerald acquisition of the CEDIA channel, with the current challenges that the CEDIA channel has been facing, that we could very well see within the next 4 years that channel becoming just kind of a blip in the, I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we wound up being just a pavilion in the National Home Kitchen and Bath Show, or being very gracefully pushed out the door by a larger organization like Avixa, who is growing and is increasing their foothold and control of the industry, I guess, for it. I mean, again, ISE is now one of the largest shows in the world, especially when it has to deal with technology. And again, not to ring the bells of saying, oh my gosh, we're all going out of business, we all got to find other jobs. It's just that it is different, and that what some people got in the industry for, when you talk to people about trade shows, and it's always been the running line, is that whenever you talk to somebody at a trade show, they always got the biggest system and they're doing fantastic, and oh my gosh, they're fully, if everybody was doing the amount of 6-figure systems that I would hear at trade shows, we would be doing much larger numbers as an industry. It's like the math has never added up. But we're going to see less of those, and that saddens me in that respect. And that, it was the wide-eyed part of me, the part that loves the art and the craftsmanship and the artistry truly of what we do. We're seeing less and less of it, and that's just changing buying habits. That's fine. It's the demo that you do now is a whole lot different than the demo that you did 15 years ago. But what is going to rush it is just the pure financial aspect of it. It's just math. There's going to be companies are going to come in and say, hey, the math makes sense to use this. The math makes sense on the market share. We'll be able to fold it into a much larger portfolio that we have. And, It's our industry will be run more by accountants and by financial officers than it will be by visionaries.
It's interesting, Rich, that as you say this, CES is still one of the largest shows, which with over 1 million square feet of space, and technology continues to leave the living room and go into other rooms of the house, right? So you have technology more ubiquitous than ever, and yet the channel that struggles to find a foothold. True?
Maybe, but I can't even count that for CES anymore. They got a million square feet of space, but 200,000 square feet of that is cell phone cases.
True. And some are robots, and some are wine aerators, and some
or it's guys trying to sell you the panel that goes in your LED TV, and there's just a whole booth on that. But yeah, I agree with you in that ISE has figured out a recipe to make it work. But the commoditization of all of it is making everyone that is custom, they're going to be a dinosaur. It's almost like it's going to flip back to the beginnings of where we were just luxury.
Well, hold on. Let me counter that for 1 second, because this is something that we are seeing as well in the commercial space. Is you keep hearing this, that the creatives, the companies that are incredibly creative, are the ones that are going to, quote unquote, have a rough time. But on the flip side, the clients that value the creativity and the ability to do something truly custom are the ones that will always get paid for that. They will always spend the money for that. So if you're going to be creative, and maybe that's part of the shift that the industry needs to have, is that they need to go from not just luxury, because luxury doesn't necessarily equate to people spending money on it.
No, it's those that get it and those that don't.
Exactly.
Right? Those that see it as a relationship, and those who want it, right? So and then we've been talking about that for years. Stop selling product and start selling solutions. And if you start doing it, they're going to call back, the ones that find value in that.
Very true. All right, Stephen, what is using your crystal ball of wonder that you have? What are you looking forward to in 2019? What are you expecting to see? And if you need to call Crystal and get her to, again, explain this to you, we can take a second.
I love you, man. So for those who don't know, Crystal is the wife. Just a side note, I told her the other day, she asked me why I call her the wife. And I said, because everyone that I know has a wife, but none of them are the wife. So Crystal is the wife. And I'll tell you that the trend that I foresee coming in 2020 is dumber AI. And I thought about this a lot over the last few days, and I really wanted to express this. And here's the reason why I say dumber AI. AI has become a marketing pitch. It has become something we can stamp on it, and it looks more intelligent. I will tell you that I remember a picture of a rug hanging in a shop that said HD color. HD, it became a marketing pitch. So what's happened is over the last year, I have taken a very specific interest in AI. My oldest son is interested in doing machine learning things. And I've taken an interest in it. And what I have found is every time I look into something that says AI, I really just find something somebody programmed. I mean, the AI that we're seeing is no different than the control systems that Richie's been writing for 436 years. So I will say that if we look into it and we continue to follow this trend, AI is going to become a dumbed down version of good programming, and it's literally just going to become dumber and dumber AI, and that really upsets me because that is a direction that we could go in that could change our industry. If the environments that we design and we program and we set up, if they could actually learn, not like I walk by my thermostat so it knows I'm at home. If the environments could actually learn how we live in them, that would be really amazing. But instead, I spend my time explaining to my clients that they don't need to listen to marketing. AI is not really AI. Also, one more thing that I think is coming that's just as critical. I think the bubble has burst on technology in homes. I think that we've gotten so big that people are starting to shrink their technology. I think that what actually popped the bubble was Alexa and Google Home. And people started realizing, oh my God, are you serious? Everybody's listening. And so now I have clients calling me saying, you know what? Maybe I don't want that voice control that you put in. Or, can we scale back a little bit on this? Can I just put an Apple TV behind each TV? We are seeing a compression of technology. And I love the way Heather put it, those that get it, get it. And that's why I love this group so much, because we all come at this from different directions and different decades. And what I say is the brilliance is that we all generally come to the same conclusion. And I love talking to you guys, but I'll tell you, the technology in homes and possibly in the corporate environment too is shrinking, and we're going to see that in a big way in 2020.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. All right, Joseph.
2020.
2020. It'll be your last year on the board.
I think, yeah.
Unless you run again.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck on that one. So 2020. I think it's going to finally be that year of standardize or die. And an article just came out, which I kind of commented about today on social, about Apple and Google and Amazon getting together to create a smart home standard. We're at the point where it doesn't matter who creates it. It has to be standardized, because we're at that point of where Stephen just kind of alluded to, where voice is already in the home, control is in the home. 2020, we're probably going to see a revamp and slow death of video distribution, because it's all built into the displays or single boxes. There's no need to centralize video equipment anymore. We're going to see a shift where if a standard doesn't happen, the industry will be owned by an Amazon, a Google, an Apple, a Sonos, a blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If that standard does not happen this year, the ability for the custom channel to own that is going to die. We saw something kind of like this happen when the housing market crashed, on our industry almost just completely dying, but some of us were smart enough to get into commercial and hospitality way back then to save our skin. But we're coming to that point is, if you don't standardize this, where home A is the same as home Z, by the way its back end is, the industry's dead. Like, it's that time. We've pushed so much technology into the house without a standard. We are going to get kicked out of the house without an acceptable global standard. It's 2020 is the year.
Very good. And I don't disagree with that. Heather, you asked to go last, and now you're going last. So
I'll tell you what I'd like to see happen. So I'm going to go into the whole biophilia thing, that the more I think about what that conversation is, that we spend 90% of our time indoors today, and we are most unhappy and most depressed. Maybe it's more of a hope than seeing the future, is that we start to pay attention to not just that our lights turn on and off, but what is the color temperature. So I went through a home renovation project myself this year, and color temperature was, I learned the most about that, and it makes a difference. I hope that people will start to see that as well. It's not just that my lights turn on, but is it a working environment? Is it sunrise, sunset? And how do I feel at work? Are there any windows? What happens when I add music to my life? I think that if we had started to approach our businesses like that, it could be very successful, because now we're not just selling a technology product, we're selling a quality of life product. And I'll point out too that we're not just into a new year, but we're into a new decade. Where were we 10 years ago? I remember thinking, 2020 was so far away, and we'd be on hoverboards by now. Not really.
So you didn't get your hoverboard?
I did not get my hoverboard. Well, they're not, not the hoverboards that we were promised.
These are not the hoverboards you expected.
Where's the jetpacks we were promised?
That's fantastic. All right. I'll wrap this up with, I don't know, maybe maybe bringing all of this together, maybe blowing this all up. I'm not sure. The trend that I'm most concerned about, to kind of take the opposite to Heather's, is that, just because of what I do and the worlds in which I play, I get to talk to, obviously, all of you four today, all of these different people who take time to come out onto my show, to come out onto AV Week when I'm on there, that we meet at all of these trade shows that we cover. And one of the biggest things that concerns me for not only our channel, but really AV in general, technology in general, is that we seem to continually disregard information from and advances from outside of our industry. We disregard what Apple's doing because they don't really care about HomeKit. They don't really care about Apple TV. We disregard what Google's doing with, Ring and everything else that they have going on, with all of the problems that come with all of this. We disregard with what Amazon's doing and say, we just use that as auxiliary parts to what we do. What we do is key. And I think we as an industry really need to shift our focus and recognize that it is very scary out there. It is going to be potentially, as Richie alluded to, you will not recognize this industry in 5 years. And that may sound doomsday-y, but I don't think it is. I think that we have to, as a channel, as an industry, recognize what's coming from outside and find ways to Heather's point, provide solutions that customers are looking for, not solutions that we think they need. Because I can tell you for a fact that I have heard it myself. I've heard it from countless vendors all over the world, both from manufacturing to HTPs to commercial integrators. We walk in with this preconceived idea of what our client needs and don't listen to what they say. And then we get confused why they didn't want to spend money with us. People are happy to spend money with you, but only when you listen to what they want. And if all they want, to Joe's point, is an Apple TV behind the TV, or a Roku in Steven's case, no one will get upset if that's what you do. That's what they want. That's what they asked for. That doesn't mean you can't show them options, but we have to become significantly better business people and stop getting caught up. And I know we've been preaching this for years. I've wrote about it. Heather's wrote about it. Joe's wrote about it. Richie's wrote about it. Steven's talked about it. Writing stuff in Georgia. But
not very nice.
Not very nice, no. And I lost my train of thought on that. No, we need to become much better business people. We need to work incredibly hard to actually provide services that our clients want. And if we do that, our industry will blossom. My concern is that we're holding on to this concept of what 1995 AV was, or 2001, or 2005. We've got to be much more aware of external influences to our industry and what our clients are looking for. And on that bright note, let's kind of wrap it up.
Okay, look, you can't leave
Yes, I can.
the show on doom and gloom, man.
I concur.
It wasn't
Maybe
doom and gloom.
joke or something, or
Ken,
favorite product of the year.
You can't.
You want to
leave
do a
the
favorite product of the year? Let's do a
can't-
favorite product of the
Can't
year.
leave the show on that note.
Well,
Come
I think
on.
more important. I think one of the things to discuss is that, and we could take a quick 20 seconds each, but there are things about this year that I'm looking forward to. Just from a business standpoint, from a technology standpoint.
For example,
I mean, it's let's put it this way. I mean, I feel a lot better going into 2020 than I felt going into 2009.
Amen.
Oh, joke.
Yeah. So I mean, there is some perspective that comes along with this, and that if companies that were in business during that, part of it is a good problem to have, in that there is an outlook there. It requires flexibility, requires some evolution of your model, but it does mean that your business model can still survive. That there's still customers there who will pay for that model.
Very much so. That was a West Coast 20 seconds, if you were wondering. That's how that works. So let's see how long a Georgia 20 seconds is.
Oh,
Steven?
God, let me go get some more coffee.
Hey, seriously, I think that 2020 is going to be awesome for our industry. I honestly, I've got clients that are really excited about upgrades to their home. They want to get new Wi-Fi. Companies, just like you guys have said, those who get it, get it. Those who don't, they need to go. They're hurting our industry. And I know that's not popular to say that someone shouldn't be in business, but Jesus, you're taking money out of my pockets when you do a crappy job. So because the next time I have to deal with that client, I have to spend half my time explaining why I don't suck like you do. So here's my thing. I think 2020 is going to be freaking awesome. Let's get out there and kill it. There's some great trends coming, some great technology upgrades coming, like I said, especially with internet speeds. And I think that honestly, something Joe said that he thinks, he said it kind of like it was a negative, but honestly, I think it's a positive. We're able to now compress our systems down to an Apple TV, behind the TV. So, I've got nothing but great things to say for 2020. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, Joey.
Mine is easy. I'm just going to go right off of what Steven just said. If your company does networking, you are going to make a lot of money in 2020. With WPA3 coming out, Wi-Fi 6 coming out, guess what? Your return to old customers list is going to be probably the most insane it has ever been, because they're going to want the new security. They're going to want the faster speeds, because all of a sudden they got, gigabit fiber coming to their house. This is a year that if you're in networking, which I think all of us that are on the show are, you're going to make a killing. And that's the one thing you really need to look at for 2020. You're going to make a bunch of money in networking.
Can I get an amen?
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Heather?
I'm sorry. I can't go past everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of, I just sang on a podcast.
Part of the team. Part of the team,
right? Like this team right here. One of my favorite early classes from CDO, probably like 18 years ago, was, if you do great work, you always have more business. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to that, right? Take care of your clients, answer your phone, call them back. So everything that you guys said, just to sum it up in a great big bow, do great work, you always have more business. Pay attention to the times, listen to this podcast so you know what's coming up next, and listen outside what the industry will be. Sell the solution, not the product. So if it's about availability over the highest quality, let your client know, but then let them make the decision and sell them what they want.
Yeah, I want to make a general observation, and this is going to take about a minute, so Tim will have to just get upset with me.
Like he
speaking
isn't
of,
already?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Speaking of paying attention and listening to this podcast, everybody listening to this needs to understand a little bit of history behind what you're listening to. Many years ago, we started a dinner called Family Dinner at CDA. And everybody here has been a part of that. And I remember when that dinner started, it was me, country as hell, trying to figure out where I was going to end up in this industry that I love so much. It was a young kid from Canada that everybody loved the way he looks and thought his hair was the next greatest thing. We had Heather, sassy as she could be, out here owning it. Joe being goofy and absolutely not care what anybody thought, which is one of my favorite features that Joe has. And then to top it all off, Uncle Richie, who has the wisdom of many, many years in our industry and has been kind enough to share that information with us. And Tim, who you can't hear, he's here but I wanted you guys, I want the people listening to this. Yeah, well, no, he's actually here. He's just not talking. So I want you guys listening to understand that we got together as a group and we listened to each other and we learned from each other. And yeah, at times we disagreed. I don't know of a whole lot that me and Uncle Richie agree on in life, but we come from two totally different areas. We agree that we both married amazing women. And those women really like each other. So there's got to be something in common. But here's the thing. Never have I thought it was disrespectful or anything. We agree to disagree and we learn from each other. As an industry, if you're listening to this, find your group, find your tribe, find your people and listen to them. That table full of people has now turned into 3 CDA board members, 1 current and 2 previous, 3 CDA board members, members of the media that have exceeded. If you talk to Tim from AVNation, he will tell you that he started small and now he's definitely not. And I would say that find your tribe. In 2020, don't wait on the technology to catch you. The technology is going to be there. If you really want to succeed, go out and find your people. I found mine and I love them.
Excellent. I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it there. First of all, you guys really are part of my family. Thank you so much for continuing to spend time with me, taking time out of your day to record these, and always being there to chat. I appreciate that more than you'll know. To everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. This is I don't want to say it's a lot of work per se, but it is a lot of work. We spend a lot of time doing this, and we appreciate the time that you invest in listening to everything that we do. Let's go around the horn. Heather, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Southtown AV, where can they do that?
You can Google Sassy as Hell. No, I kid. You can find me on Twitter at tech_chi, a balance of life and technology. My company is Southtown Audio Video, or SouthtownAV.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Joe Goodbuddy. Always. Joe Goodbuddy, if people want to connect with you, learn more about thoughtful integrations, everything else that you're doing, where can people find that?
They can always email me directly at joe@Thoughtful Integrations. Find us on Facebook at Thoughtful Integrations. And for now, you can always find me at a CEDIA event or a CEDIA thing. And find us on Twitter at Integrator Tweets.
Excellent. Thank you so much, my friend. Stephen Goodbuddy, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Pro Audio Georgia, where can they do that?
ProAudioGeorgia.com, ProAudio_GA on Twitter. You can find me just about everywhere. Opinions are my own. Be weary of that. And I love to chat. If you have some time, I love talking to other integrators, working with other integrators. I love sharing ideas and opinions. So reach out to me, please, and we'll chat.
Last, but again, certainly not least, Uncle Richie, one of the first people to walk me around a show floor and say, hey, you need to meet this guy and this guy and this lady and this guy and this woman and this woman and this woman. What are you doing? Why haven't you met them? Thank you so much for that. As always, thank you for coming on. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Fregosa Design, where can they do that?
Probably the fastest ways. You can find me on Twitter at rfregosa. You can also find me on the website, fregosadesign.com. Most importantly, though, I'd love for you to find me here on AVNation.tv, obviously here on ResiWeek, but also on one of our other shows, A State of Control, with my partner, Steve Greenblatt from Control Concepts, another frequent guest, that's where, we appreciate the most support and like getting the message out to everybody.
Excellent. Thank you all again for joining us. For myself, if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show, as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We're extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this special episode of ResiWeek.